through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howe.
And welcome to the broadcast. On this January 15th, 2026, we have a big show for you tonight. We're going to have on a young man who was in MEK. MEK, that's an organization that at one time is designated as a foreign terrorist organization. They came out of Iran and then moved over to Iraq, and then were fighting in the Iraq-Iran war. This young man was in that group for 18 years. We're going to hear his story tonight. He's going to tell us his first-hand experience being on the inside of MEK, also living in America for a period of time with MEK, and living in some of their headquarters and knowing some of their leadership that's around today. You got to hear this interview we're about to do with Ray. Now, I hope you will tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Tell everyone to get over here, because this has been a big controversy in the conservative, America First, MAGA world, because many people are saying, no, we don't want the Prince Pahlavi. We don't want the Shah's son. We want MEK, the Marxist Islamist organization. Well, you're going to hear from a guy that was on the inside for 18 years. That's his testimony. So he's in Germany. So please, tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Let them know we're on right now. Then we're going to bring on Anni Cyrus, who is obviously not for MEK. She's very much in favor of Prince Pahlavi. And then our friend, longtime friend, we worked with for many years, Clare Lopez, who is speaking up on behalf of MEK. In other words, it's a debate. MEK versus Prince Pahlavi. We love debates here, folks, and that's what we're doing. We're providing a platform for both sides to present their case, and then for you, the listening and viewing audience, to make your decision on where you come down on Prince Pahlavi and MEK. There are some saying that Prince Pahlavi and MEK group should all work together. We'll ask Ray tonight, is that even something that could happen? So again, very educational program tonight, and again, brought to you as a public service of our broadcast network. So before we get right to it, do you appreciate what we're doing here? If you do, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. It's so vital we have your support, worldviewfoundation.com. Now, another way you can support us is by supporting different different sponsors we have that support us when you make a purchase. Of course, you know all about Bella Grace. I use it each and every day. You know about Bella Trim. It's an all-natural product. Bella Melt, sorry, I always get that wrong. Bella Melt. It's an all-natural little caramel candy, if you will, that curbs your appetite and stimulates your body's own natural GLP-1. So check that out. Not only the great elixir that I take each and every day, but Melissa and I, we are excited about Bella Melt. You'll find it, all of it, at melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. You also know I do the Numi each and every day to detox my cells, get glutathione in my system. That's at swishforlife.com, swishforlife.com. And I'm moving quickly tonight to get right to it. The other one is our phytoplankton. Gatatana, that's at melissahousegpa.com, melissahousegpa.com. These are three products we do each and every day. We suggest you do the same. It's a great way to support your health and us at the same time. You'll also find other great products there as well. Worldview Talk, which is your satellite phone, your solar generators, bulletproof backpacks, and so much more. So check out all our sponsors, will you? At worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. I'm going to keep the product and promotion tonight short so we can get right to a very busy lineup. But we do need your support, folks. We are a listener-supported network. Otherwise, we just put all this behind a paywall, the live stream and the replays. But we don't want to do that. And, of course, you want to watch the Worldview report every night, the newscast, all of it, again, brought to you by you, as we are a listener-supported network. So thank you for that. Let's see, what else, Logan? We have our fall conference coming up. Well, I signed the contract the other day. I signed the contract, and very soon we'll be telling you how you can register for our fall conference, and it'll be absolutely free. We've never, in 22 years, made our national conference free because it's too expensive. Renting the building alone, folks, is over $10,000. just to rent the building, do a free conference. It's not free for us. It'll be free for those who attend. We'll take a free will offering. And of course, your support through our foundation helps us put on events like this to train and equip people to understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. But mark your calendar now for Friday night, October 23rd, Saturday, October 24th at the Waukesha Expo Center in Waukesha, Wisconsin, outside of Milwaukee. You'll be able to start registering for that very soon. All right. Don't forget about worldviewreport.com, your daily aggregated news site with lots of free articles that we put up each and every day and link to different news sites to cover news stories. Free news aggregated page, worldviewreport.com. Let's get started. All right, guys, I've been waiting all day for this interview. Joining me now is Ray Torabi. It's Torabi. I'll show you his Twitter feed so you can follow him. It's at Ray Torabi, number 8. He's ex-MEK child soldier and an 18-year member. We've been warning you about MEK all week long. And here we have a former member of 18 years who was not just a member, but a child soldier. Ray, thank you so much for being with us tonight. You're out of the country. You're not in America. You're in another country. I don't know if you want to say where or not. It's up to you.
I'm in Germany. Hi. First of all, thank you for having me, Brennan. It's a great opportunity for me to be able to share my firsthand experience with the MEK. Unfortunately, there's a lot of propaganda going around, circulating online about the MEK. And I'm here to share firsthand experience about the MEK and my personal life story so that your audience hopefully will understand and get to know this evil terrorist cult better after tonight.
Evil terrorist cult is how you describe them. Now, I have a PDF.
Absolutely.
I have a PDF. So we're not just slandering people, so you guys know. I have a PDF where there is a congressional research group that has described them and noted that indeed they were a terrorist listed organization. Here it is. Listing as a foreign terrorist organization, October 1997, the State Department made the first designation pursuant to Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Okay. Tell us your story. I want to hear your story. As a child soldier of MEK, how old were you when you joined and how did you get introduced to them and where?
It's a long story. First of all, I would like to say that I was born in Iran in 1982. My parents were political activists. From the first month that I was born, they were fugitives running from the Islamic Republic. Unfortunately, we tried to escape Iran, but we were caught on the border. And my parents went to prison. I spent the first year of my life in Evin, the notorious Evin prison in Iran, alongside my mother. And my mother spent 5 years in prison. My father 10 years.
Okay, now this would have been by the Ayatollah's regime.
Yes.
And why did they? Were they what? Were they opposing the regime or what?
They were opposing the regime, and at that time, the Ayatollah Khomeini, he had issued a fatwa saying whoever opposes the Islamic Republic should be arrested, tortured, and even executed.
Okay, so how long did you live in jail with your mom? A year or what?
Almost a year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is the notorious Evin prison where people were being tortured on a daily basis, and in small cells of 6 people, there was 20, 30 people. I have a lot of stories to share, but unfortunately tonight we're here about the MEK. So
I'm going to get you back. I'm going to get you back. Have you written a book or anything?
I'll be here as many times as you want because there is so much to be said about the Islamic Republic and also specifically about the MEK.
Have you written a book?
I'm actually written a book, but I'm in the process of editing it, and hopefully I'll be able to find a publisher to publish it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We'd be glad to help you and teach you how to self-publish because I think you'll do better and be able to fund your cause better I've been with 3 publishers. One was the largest Christian publisher in the world. Yet I always did better when I finally started my own publishing mark. So we can help you with that offline because we need to get your book out. Absolutely. That's for sure. All right, let's talk about how did you become part of MEK then? Why would you join that group? If your parents are being persecuted by the regime, why would you join MEK? Is that because at that time they were opposed to the regime or what?
So after my father was released from prison when I was 7, we were still in Iran. My parents decided to leave Iran once again because they were supporters of the MEK, and that they smuggled their way to Iraq, where at that time the MEK had established a military base. They had established the National Liberation Army of Iran, which they called it. They were funded by Saddam Hussein. They were given military bases by Saddam Hussein and heavily armed with tanks and all sorts of weapons by
Okay, I
Saddam
want to stop
Hussein.
you right there real quick, because at one time, the leaders of the MEK, they were aligned with the Ayatollah, and they helped to overthrow the Shah, or at least they were opposed to the Shah. Then at some point, there was a falling out between the MEK members and Khomeini. So that's why your parents were fleeing, right?
Absolutely. Just to let you know, the MEK were Khomeini's personal bodyguards when he arrived in Tehran, when the revolution took place. So that's how close they were, and that's how much Khomeini trusted the MEK. They fell off when Khomeini wasn't willing to give them a share of the power. So the whole problem was with the MEK. The problem with the MEK and the Islamic Republic is that they were not willing to give or share power with them. And that's why the MEK started an armed struggle against the Islamic Republic. And from that then on, any member or supporter of the MEK was a fugitive, because the Ayatollah and the government was looking for them to arrest them and
So Saddam
imprison them
Hussein
and
gave you
torture
guys military bases in Iraq, and I guess he's using you or that MEK in Iraq to fight during the Iraq-Iran war, correct?
Absolutely, yes. So based on the enemy of my enemy is my friend, Saddam funded the MEK heavily, and during the Iran-Iraq war, MEK fought alongside Saddam Hussein against their own countrymen. And this is a very, very important fact in the history of the MEK that should be well known by everyone, that from then on, the MEK were considered traitors amongst the Iranian people. And to this day, they are considered traitors. And that's why they have no popular support.
Okay, wait a minute. They don't have
Iran.
popular support. I thought we just heard from Colonel Matus this afternoon, and I love Colonel, but I disagree with him on this. I thought he said that they have the best support system on the ground, MEK, in Iran. Did he not say that?
I have a lot of respect for Colonel Manis. I during the time that he was in Iraq and watching over Camp Ashraf, I was in Camp Ashraf at that time. I have seen him once in Camp Ashraf. He doesn't know me, but I've seen him there. But I'm 100% here telling you online or on air that he is being fed MEK propaganda, and I'm willing to sit down with him for as long as he would like to share my personal experience, and not just me, all the other child soldiers and former MEK members who have left this cult, and to share our stories and our experience for him to get the other side of the story, because he's only being fed information and propaganda by the MEK.
What did you hear him say today that you disagree with?
The fact that the MEK has support inside Iran, and they are the most organized, well established inside Iran, which is absolutely not true. There is no evidence other than doctored videos that are the voices of those, the audios of those videos have been changed by the MEK, where people are chanting anti-Shah and anti-Ayatollah chants. There is not one video coming from inside Iran where anyone is chanting in favor of the MEK or in favor of Mayam or Masoud Rajavi, the leaders of the MEK. So based on these personal, these facts, I'm here telling you that the MEK has little to none popular support inside Iran. And the fact that during, let me say something. For years, for decades, the MEK has been playing this game that's, we have the biggest base and popular support inside Iran, but unfortunately, because of the suppression inside Iran, people cannot express this support for the MEK and for Mayam and Masoud Rajavi. If they do, they will be in prison and even executed. But we're seeing in these, this time around, in these protests, we're seeing that people are openly calling for the person who they want, which the majority right now, whether anyone likes it or not, is Reza Pahlavi, the Crown Prince. So people are willing to risk their lives, knowing that it's a crime, knowing that they might be arrested and even executed, as some were during the Women Life Freedom Revolution for supporting monarchy and for supporting Reza Pahlavi. They're willing to risk their lives to come and chant, "We support Reza Pahlavi, Javeed Shah, long live the Shah," right? They're doing that. And you're seeing these videos coming out of Iran in the thousands. So it's not that these are doctored videos. In the thousands, you're seeing these videos that are coming out of Iran. So people are doing that. And the fact that no one is doing that in support of the MEK is a big, big red flag of the fact that the MEK has been playing this game of pretending to have popular support inside Iran, but in reality, they do not have that.
So why did you leave MEK?
Well, let me get into the fact that why I actually got into the MEK. So I said that my parents, they joined the MEK in Iraq, in Camp Ashraf. I was there, I was a 7-year-old child, and we were at that time about 1,000 children living in Camp Ashraf in Iraq. Our parents were MEK soldiers. So during the week, we were completely away from our parents. We were held at daycares and at a school where our parents got military training. And on the weekends, for 1.5 days, we were able to see our parents. And this went on until 1991, when the first Persian Gulf War happened. When the Gulf War started, the MEK leader, Masud Rajavi, decided that this Camp Ashraf with the MEK is not a place for children anymore. So it's completely separated men, women, and children from each other. So all of our parents, the majority, 95% of MEK members who had children, they were forced to send their children away to Western countries. I was, and the majority of us were smuggled. So I was smuggled from Iraq initially to Jordan, and from Jordan with fake passports to the United States, and then from there, from the ground border, from Niagara Falls into Canada. I spent the next 8 years in Canada living with several foster families. During that time, I had no contact with my parents. I only knew that they were in Camp Ashraf and then members of the MEK.
How old were you at this time, that 8 years?
Eventually, I was from the age of almost 9 until almost 17, 16 years of age. And I had no contact with my parents. So that all the other children, the majority of us had no contact. We just knew that our parents are in Camp Ashraf in Iraq.
And of course, they're fighting, and you don't even know if they're dead, right?
We'll get to that as well. We'll get to that. You're absolutely right. Every time I wanted to see my parents or I asked to talk to them, they would say that it's impossible to connect with them, especially my dad, because after a couple of years, I had this internal feeling that my dad is not alive anymore, and I can't explain it. It's just, I don't know, it's a supernatural feeling. I don't know, whatever it is, but I felt that my dad is not alive anymore. And I kept asking that I want to see, and this is like a 9, 10-year-old child wanting to see his dad. And I said that I want to see my dad, or I want to talk to him. And they kept telling me that your dad is on a secret mission inside Iran, and he can't contact you. And so until the age of 16, I had no contact with my parents. And then one day at the age of 16, a woman from the MEK, a member of the MEK, comes to the foster family that I'm living in and sits down with me and says, "Hey, do you want to see your parents?" And I'm like, "Of course I want to see my parents. I miss them and I love them." And she says, "Well, they can't leave Iraq. And if you want to see your parents, then you have to go to Iraq and see them." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I want to." Like, that's of course I would definitely want to do that. At that time, I was considered a landed immigrant in Canada because I was smuggled into Canada without any documents. So I was a landed immigrant. I didn't have a passport. The MEK said, it's not a problem. We'll take care of that. So eventually in 1998, they smuggled me from the border near Vancouver, so Western Canada, all the way down to Seattle. And then from there, they flew me from Seattle to Washington, D.C. And eventually, I stayed in MEK headquarters in the U.S. for almost 9 months. I was doing political work and financial or charity work for them. We can also get into that as well, how the MEK launders money through fake charities, maybe later on. But eventually, after 9 months, they smuggled me from the U.S. with fake passports from JFK Airport all the way to Jordan. And then from Jordan, an MEK convoy came and picked me up. And then they drove me and a couple of other people to their camp or their headquarters in Baghdad. And that's where I saw my mom after almost 8, 9 years for the first time.
What about your dad?
Absolutely. I asked her, where's dad? And she said, well, he's busy, that he can't join us right now. He'll be there tomorrow. Eventually, the next day came and I sat down with her again, and then she started crying and she said, well, I want to tell you something that it might hurt you, but your dad passed away 5, 6 years ago. And we could never tell you because we didn't want to hurt you. That's how I joined the MEK. So
So you had been 16 at that time?
I was 16 when I was transferred to MEK headquarters in the US, in Virginia, and then eventually LA. But once I turned 17, at around 2 weeks after I turned 17, I was smuggled from the US to Iraq.
Okay, so you're 17, you're in Iraq, and you're with MEK. Is this when you become a child soldier for MEK?
Absolutely. So at that time, Camp Ashraf was a heavily armed military camp. Once I got to Camp Ashraf, I realized that I'm not the only one. We were almost 200 MEK children, the same children who they had sent us off in 1991 to live abroad. They had brought us back with the same promises that come and see your parents. And now we were in this camp receiving military training. And some of my friends, they were even 13 years old. So children from the age of 13 in Camp Ashraf receiving military training, from small arms and pistols to AK-47s to anti-aircraft weaponry to tanks to military weapons to cannons, everything you name it that MEK had in its artillery or in its arsenal. I'm sorry. Yeah, we were trained during the next 3-4 years until 2003 when the U.S. coalition invaded Iraq. So,
and was that until the coalition invaded?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when the coalition invaded, and we were on the ground, I was part of the group that we had first contact with the Americans, American troops at the border between Iran and Iraq. So when the Americans came, there was a ceasefire agreement between the MEK and the U.S. military at that time. I think it was General Odierno. And eventually the MEK was completely disarmed. In return, the U.S. Army gathered all of us in Camp Ashraf and provided protection for us during the next several years.
Is that where you saw Colonel Manus?
Yes, yes. When we were confined in Camp Ashraf, because we were not allowed to leave Camp Ashraf, we were completely confined. And Colonel Manus was one of the U.S. military officials who was overseeing the operation at Camp Ashraf.
And you know for sure it was Colonel Manus?
Yeah, there were several of them. I think he was there for a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. I remember seeing him once in the streets of Camp Ashraf.
Okay. So I'm guessing that when Colonel Manus sees this will all be news to him. That, because again, you knew who he was, you're saying, but he wouldn't have known who you were because you were one of many young people, right?
Yeah.
That's a fascinating story. So how did life go for you? How did life go for you in that camp under the protection of the American military?
This is a great point. First of all, let me just say that the fact that we were child soldiers is factually proven. Just last year or 2 years ago, there was a Le Monde article that was published, We the Child Soldiers of the MEK. It was published by Ghazal Goshi, a very, very a great investigative journalist. She did an interview with 4 of us, and she did this investigative journalism for about 2 years on this story, and she finally published her article. So for anyone, I can put links on my Twitter accounts for everyone who wants to really get the facts about the fact that the MEK has used child soldiers in their military operations.
Mm-hmm.
Now about life in the camp. This is the part where I want to get into the fact that, because I also heard you guys were talking online about, is the MEK a cult or not? The MEK is 100% a cult. It's a Marxist Islamist cult. Now let me explain to you why it's a cult. First of all, in the MEK, there is no relationship between men and women, and this is mandatory. From one point, the MEK leader decided that men and women should be completely separated from each other. All husbands and wives were forced mandatorily to divorce and separate, and eventually children were sent away. In this camp, you weren't even allowed to talk to women. let alone to shake hands or touch them or even look at them. Having sexual thoughts was considered a taboo. And if you had sexual thoughts, every day in this camp, we had two meetings. One, where you had to come and read your sexual thoughts or your sexual desires or whatever sexual thoughts you had during the day. You would have to write them down on a piece of paper. And at night, you would have to come in your units, which was around 5, 10, sometimes 15 people. And you would have to read these sexual thoughts to purify yourself.
Okay, can I stop you right there? Because here's what comes to mind.
Yeah.
I've spent 36 years studying brainwashing. I've done part 1, part 2 documentary, working on part 3. And I used some of the history out of the Korean War with the American soldiers and the Chinese communist POW camps of Korea. And one of the tactics of brainwashing is self-criticism. Self-criticism and shaming yourself so that you would be bonded to the group and all of you would be bonded together in your either in your atrocities, like they did with the SS soldiers in Nazi Germany, or in your shame, right? So this, to me, is a classic case of self-shaming and vulnerability and group consensus that bonds you to the group. And then you can also be manipulated. And then at some point, you know, when these things start happening, the things that you're saying that you're thinking about can be exploited by very bad people. But let me just say, what you're describing, my 36 years of brainwashing tells me right away, this is what cults do. This is one way cults, communists, and et cetera groups brainwash people and control people. Does that sit as a legitimate statement to you?
Absolutely. This was, I'm describing the MEK's brainwashing methods because without a doubt, the MEK brainwashes its members. And I will get to the point where how they brainwashed my mother to the point, I will get to that very soon. So the second meeting we had was this exactly as you mentioned, the self-criticism meeting, where we would have to write down all of our faults and all of our mistakes during the day. And we would have to come into this meeting and read that also in front of the our unit. And then the unit would criticize us. And sometimes, let's say once or twice a year, these meetings would get very, very large. So you would be in a crowd of 100 people and you would have to read these self-criticism thoughts or whatever that you had, that you had listed down. And then imagine 100 people like right here, this close to your face, shouting at you and swearing at you and shaming you in an attempt to shame you and crush your ego, because that's how cults manipulate and brainwash their members. They crush and manipulate their ego to the point where you just become completely obedient. Because if you know that if you are not obedient, they instill this fear inside you that disobedience has consequences. And the consequences were these ideological meetings where dozens and up to 100 people, 100 members, other members, they would come and they would just yell at you and scream at you and shame you in any form or way that they could. This was the second meeting. Family relationships were considered disvalued, like something that went against the values of the MEK. That's why during this whole time, I was in the MEK until I was 35. So 18 years I was in the MEK. During these 18 years, I only saw my mother twice a year and for a couple of hours, because men and women were completely separated in the MEK camps. And they are the same as they are today in the camp that they have in Albania. So there wasn't even family relationships. Eventually, in 2016, there was an agreement between the MEK, the US government, and the Albanian government, where the MEK was completely transferred. All the MEK members, we were at that time around 3,000 members, we were transferred from Iraq to Albania. And that was the time where I for the first time, I had the chance actually to get in touch with my family, my foster family in Canada. I illegally, secretly got in touch with them through an email. And then they sent me some money through Western Union. And eventually I bought a cell phone. And through that cell phone, I got in touch with them. And I was able to wash away the influence of the MEK brainwash and find the courage within myself to leave the camp. And once I said that I want to leave the camp, and this is the part where I want to emphasize on the brainwash. They tried for several months so many tactics to make me to change my mind. They tried blackmailing me. They tried giving me whatever I wanted. I had meetings with top MEK officials for hours long. Eventually, none of that's really had any effects on me. So they called my mother up. So I had a meeting. I sat down with my mother. And at first she was like, my dear, I don't want you to leave. And I want you to stay with me. And I'm like, what do you mean stay with me? I see you twice a year. We don't even have that relationship between each other. And when she realized that I want to leave by any means necessary, then that brainwashed MEK member of side of her came out and she said, you're a disgrace to the family. You're a disgrace to your father's blood and your uncles, because 3 of my uncles have also been executed by the Islamic Republic during the 1980s. And if you leave the MEK, you're not my son anymore. And I don't want to have anything to do with you.
Wow.
And so I looked her straight in the eye and I said, look, I'm not your son, because if I was your son, you would have shown me a little bit of affection during this 18 years, which she did, because showing affection in the MEK is also banned. It's forbidden. The only person that is allowed to receive your love and affection is the leader. The leader of the MEK, which is Mariam and Master Rajavi. That's another example of how they're a cult. So eventually I left the camp in Albania, and I started a new life in Albania. And from that day on, this is March 3rd, 2017, until this day, I have no contact with my mother, and she wants no contact with me. So I also want to mention one thing. During this whole time that I was in the MEK, in the MEK, I had no contact with the outside world. I mean, we were banned from having internet. We were banned from having phones. There were TVs in the MEK cafeteria, because life in the MEK is a collective life. You sleep in barracks, you eat in cafeterias, everything is you have nothing private. I'm sorry to say this on air, but the only privacy you had was that couple of minutes that you were in the bathroom or in the shower. Wow. And even shower times were controlled. Like you were only allowed to be in the shower for 7 minutes, and they would control that. There would be a person standing there with a timer controlling how many minutes you spent in the shower. Okay, and we can get into the details of these, but I don't want to. I just want to say that these are simple facts, just for your audience to know that the MEK is a cult.
Okay, let me ask you this.
There is no,
and I don't want to accuse anybody. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. I'm just asking a question. But if I had an adult being asked to share, whatever it is their thought life is in a group, but certainly if any children that are teenagers or minors are being asked to share their thoughts of the day, my first question would be, was any of that used to then sexually exploit anybody? That would be my first question. Because I know that in a lot of cults, you got some weird stuff going on. Was any of that happening?
Not systematically, but there were many instances where such cases happened. I have personal friends who they were sexually abused by their commanders, their direct commanders. They were being taken advantage of sexually, and
that'd be males being abused by male leaders.
Absolutely, yes. Young males being abused by older males in power.
But is that not allowed in Islam?
It's not forbidden in Islam. Let's put it.
The reason I say that is because I know that some guys, like my friend Usama Dakdok, who has translated the Quran from Arabic into perfect English, born and raised in Egypt, and is here in America, warning about Islam taking over. He says that the 72 perpetual virgins in some translations can be young boys they receive. There's verses in the Quran about receiving young boys in paradise. Would you agree with that?
I'm not a specialist or to talk about the Quran. I can share my personal experience. But regarding the MEK, look, let me give you a personal story. I have a very close friend who's also currently living in Germany. In 1999, when he joined the MEK, he also joined the MEK from Germany. He wanted to meet or to see his female friends who they knew each other from Germany, and the female friends had also joined the MEK. And he requested several times for his commander, am I allowed to go and see her? Can I see her? She's my friend. And eventually his commander got fed up and said, hey, look, this is the MEK. We have rules here. And if you show any contact or specifically any sexual contact between yourself and a female member, the punishment is execution. And this is, at that time, he was 15 years old, not to mention. So a commanding member of the MEK says this to a 15-year-old who wants to see his female friends, right? Now, why do I say this? On the other hand, all of the instances where my friends, and I also have an instance where one of these older MEK members tried to sexually harass me as well, abuse me as well, but I did not let him. But in all these instances, the MEK did nothing. There was no punishment for these people who perpetrated these crimes. These are pedophiles within the MEK because at that time we were very young.
Was it known?
A lot of us were under the age of 18.
Was it known?
Yes, of course it was known because there was cases where such instances would result into physical altercations and fights. Like I have a friend who a similar instance happened to him, and he wasn't willing to speak up or say anything, but eventually he told his brother, and his brother started a physical altercation with the perpetrator, the man who sexually abused his brother. So these were well known. Within the camp, everyone knew that these people, these specific individuals were carrying these,
and this was happening in Iraq. This was happening in Iraq.
In Camp Ashraf in Iraq, yes.
So what finally made you leave?
During my 18 years in the MEK, I've worked in their political department as a translator. I've worked in their financial department. I know where they're funding their money from. I worked in their recruiting departments where they were bringing new young members from Iran into the MEK, and how they were the process in which they were brainwashing them into MEK members. I've seen all that firsthand. And from one point, I realized that this is not the place that I want to be in. I originally came to this camp. I joined the MEK because I wanted to see my parents. I realized that I'm not seeing my parents. And just to clarify this here as well, because I talked about how my mother said that my father had passed away from a heart attack 5 years before I joined the MEK. Eventually, when I left the MEK and I had access to the internet and to free information, I went and I started doing my own research about my father. And I realized that my father was tortured, brutally tortured, and executed by the MEK in Camp Ashraf. And this is factual. It's in the Human Rights Watch 2005 No Exit report. His name is there. The eyewitnesses who were with him during that time in which he was tortured, eventually interrogated, tortured, and eventually murdered. They've all mentioned their eyewitness accounts in this Human Rights Watch report. So the MEK not only brainwashes its own members, but anyone who's not willing to comply is facing torture and even murder. And this has happened within the camp on several occasions. Now, at that time, while I was in the camp, I did not know, because my mother, who I wholeheartedly trusted, told me that my father had passed away. But during my time in the camp, I started seeing how the contradictions in the MEK ideology and what I was seeing on a daily basis. And I was fed up. And during the time that we were in Iraq, we really didn't have a chance to leave the MEK. I mean, we didn't physically have the chance. We were confined in a camp with barbed wires around the camp. And now, let me explain to you something, or let me ask you something. Normally, a military camp, which is confined by fences and barbed wires and watchtowers, the barbed wires would be on the outside part of the fence to prevent intruders from entering the camp, right? That's how a military camp works. That's how a military camp. But the Camp Ashraf, the MEK camp, the barbed wires, they were inside the camp. They were preventing individuals, they were preventing members from escaping. The watchtowers, we were 24/7. We were protected. We were watched over by the US Army. But yet we 24/7 had watchtowers all around the camp. Why? Because the point was not to prevent intruders. The point was the watchtowers were to prevent MEK members from escaping, which on several occasions they tried to escape and they were caught and they were heavily punished. So seeing all these things, I couldn't take it anymore. And I said that, look, I do not want to be a part of this cult anymore. And the first opportunity that I got was in Albania, and I had the chance to leave MEK in Albania. And once I left Albania, MEK in Albania, I had no passport, I had no work permit, no documents, no money. I had nothing. I started life from zero. I didn't even have a birth certificate. Like imagine someone, like as if someone just dropped you down on Earth from Mars. Like I had nothing, and I gradually fought my way and worked my way from country to country, from Albania to Greece, and from Greece to France, and from France to Germany. And eventually, I was able to become a political refugee here in Germany and get political asylum in Germany and get a passport and build a life for myself.
I just went to Human Rights Watch. Anyone can put this in a search engine. HRW.org. HRW.org. Just put in Human Rights Watch on MEK. And within a couple, links down, it brought me here. Summary, methodology, rise of dissent, compulsory divorce, human rights abuses in the camps, testimonies. These names mean anything to you? Like here?
Absolutely. This is the report that I'm talking about. If you want to search, you can search my father's name, and
I don't know if there's a search box to do it, but where would I find his name?
I would give you his name. His name is Ghorban Ali. Ghor.
Ghor.
BAN. Ali. ALI.
Okay, let me search another area and see if I can find it. But I mean, it goes into the summary, and I just did the old Control F and put in the word abuse. Yeah, former MEK members report abuses. The word abuse keeps popping up. Physical abuse is committed against the group's members as major sources of the psychological and physical abuse is committed. Physical and psychological abuses because they had either expressed criticism of MKO's policy. Now, why is it calling it MKOs instead of MEK?
MEK has different names. MKO stands for Mujahideen Khar Organization.
Okay.
They're also known as PMOI, People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran. They're also known as MEK, Mujahideen Khar.
Let me put in your dad's name into a search engine here. HORBANALI. You found it already, Logan? Logan found it already. Okay.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
We love research here. We love documentation here. We produce our show live on the fly. I don't think you're going to find any other broadcast network where the lead anchor is broadcasting and producing his show on the fly with whatever the guest is saying to either verify it or to refute it or to ask questions. I don't know any other anchor that does what I do. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that's my style. That's what we do because we're interested in truth. And this is fascinating. Okay. So we're going to go to the screenshot. Here we are. There is your dad's name. Died as a result of abuse suffered in the MKO detention. The FOFI document challenged these testimonies. What's that document? FOFI.
Great question. FOFI is Friends of a Free Iran, which is a European Parliament delegation that's completely funded by the MEK, who took a trip to the MEK, to Camp Ashraf, and the MEK financed the trip, financed the reports, and eventually they came out with the reports saying that all the accusations against the MEK are false. They even claimed that they spoke to my family, my mother and my aunts, and even me, regarding my father, which they dismissed the accusation that they murdered my father. I specifically remember the day when the FOFI delegation came to Camp Ashraf. They came, my commander said that there was a delegation here from the European Parliament. They want to meet with you and your family. And I said, okay, for what reason? They said, well, we don't know. They just want to meet. And we went to a small, it was a small building. It was me, my mother, and one of my aunts. They told me to sit outside the room while they went into a room with my mother and my aunt, and they spoke for about half an hour, and then they came out. And I was like, what's the point of all this? They said, well, we'll tell you later. But they never did. And the reason for that is because they did not want to tell me that the story about my dad, that he had been tortured and murdered by the MEK.
Are you afraid
So
are you afraid of reprisals for what you're saying?
I'm past that. I'm a person who's I believe in speaking the truth, even if it costs you your life. I'm for justice. I want to see justice for all the victims of the MEK in this world in my lifetime. And the reason that I share my stories online, especially on X, is that I know that one day very soon, Iran will be free, and the MEK will be, they will see themselves in courts. They will see themselves in court, and I want my testimonies to be evidence in those courts, whether I'm there present myself or if I'm not.
Would you be shocked?
I'm willing to live.
Would you be shocked to find out that, I don't know if do you know our broadcast partner, Anni Cyrus? Do you know of Annie?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay. Well,
I think I've heard.
She's from Iran. She's from Iran. She has escaped through Turkey with the help of her grandmother. We carry her broadcast at 3 p.m. Central each and every day. She's on my show regularly. She's going to, of course, and is watching this. And she knew we were having you on. She's been to your Twitter page. She's very excited that because she's all about documentation and testimony as well. Would you be shocked that she tells me today she has received phone calls from people, I don't know if the word is threatening, but saying things like zip it or we'll zip it for you when she's talking about and exposing the things like you're doing right now? Would that shock you?
Absolutely. I personally received many death threats by MEK supporters. I have open cases with the police here in Germany regarding these death threats. So I'm very familiar with MEK tactics. And what I've learned is when it comes to the MEK, you just have to press head on. You have to be aggressive, and you have to push. And that's the best way. The best defense is a good offense. And that's what I've learned with the MEK. If you want to protect yourself from the MEK, speak up. Because the moment you show a little bit of fear, the moment you show a little bit of weakness, they will use that against you. Unfortunately, there are so many MEK members. I have so many friends here in Germany and in the US, in Canada, in Scandinavian countries, all across Europe, who have left the MEK, who share the same story as me. They've been child soldiers. They've been abused by the MEK.
So when are we going to do a documentary on this? It sounds like we need to get a bunch of you together and do a documentary on this. Has anyone done that?
There has been one documentary, but not about the MEK. It's been about the children who were sent away during the Gulf War, the Persian Gulf War in 1991. But a documentary about us who went back to Iraq as child soldiers hasn't been done yet.
Wow. We just found, Logan, another reference to your father, someone named Abbas, however you say that last name, told Human Rights.
Yeah.
Told Human Rights that he also witnessed the death of another prisoner. That would be your father.
Yeah.
Say his name for me, please.
Orban Ali Torabi.
Who was returned from an interrogation session to a prison cell that he shared with him. I mean, this doesn't shock you. You're the one that pointed us to this document, so you're aware of it, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely, I'm aware of this. And then the first, now put yourself in my shoes. That for 18 years, your mother had told you that your father had passed away from a heart attack during his sleep. And then once I left the MEK, I started to do my own research. And the first time that I came across this document, I was shocked. Like I couldn't believe I And the fact that my mother had betrayed me to the point where she lied to me about the death of my father was I could not understand that. And to this day, I still I'm a person that I do not hate. I've forgiven every person in my life who has done anything bad to me. As a child, I've been sexually abused during my time in Camp Ashraf when I was a child, right? I was sexually abused by MEK.
I thought you said you resisted the guy.
That's when I was a teenager. But when my parents went to Camp Ashraf when I was 7 years old. And from 7 to 9, I was in Camp Ashraf. Like I said, during the week, we were away from our parents and we were held in daycares and schools. And at the weekends, we would go to our parents' units, military units, and we would spend time with them. And in one of those instances, I was sexually abused by one of the MEK members who was in the same unit as my father.
A man?
A man, yes, a man.
And how old were you?
I talked about this
how old were you?
I was 8 years old. I was 8 years old.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you. But I want to share this. I want to say this, that I've overcome these things as a human being, as a man, and the fact that I have the courage to sit in front of you and your audience,
100% courage,
is because I've overcome all these, and I've turned all the hatred, all the pain and the suffering and everything. I've turned it into love and strength, and so I've forgiven all the people who have done anything bad to me. But at the same time, I seek justice.
Well, that's the right thing.
That's why
people can even apologize and be sorry for what they did, but that doesn't eliminate justice.
Yes.
And you can forgive them, and that doesn't eliminate their need to be brought to justice. So I mean, you got more you can say to us, but what do you make of these people that are running around and promoting MEK, that this is the group that should lead Iran, or that the Shah's son, the Prince Pahlavi, should get together with MEK, they should work together? I don't see that happening. But what on earth? Well, first of all, it's an Islamic group and a Marxist group. We got a mayor they're selected in New York, Mamdani, who's an Islamist and a Marxist, okay? How can we criticize the election of these kind of mayors and elected officials across the country, but then say, oh, but hey, you Iranians, it's okay. You go ahead and take an Islamist and a Marxist for a leader. Really? That's not, Iran is not historically a Muslim country, right? The Persians, a lot of them don't want Islam. And the leader of MEK is running around with a hijab on. I got a picture of her sitting there. You know, frankly, to be honest with you, I think she should wear a burqa so we don't have to see any of her. But you know, sometimes your worldview, I think, comes out from the inside out. But that's my opinion. But, you know, I've got a website here, if I can bring it up and find it, because there's so much with her. She's sitting there, video highlights, Miriam meeting with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, the PLO. And didn't he do his PhD on the fact that there was no Holocaust? All right, really? You think that's going to go well, relationships between Iran and Israel, if this is the worldview that takes over? And really, how is it going to be any different? How would the leadership of this group be any different than the regime they're under now today, Ray? How would it be different?
I really want to be frank with your audience. Anyone who says that the MEK has a chance to lead any sort of government inside Iran is completely delusional. It's completely manipulated by MEK propaganda. The MEK inside Iran not only has no support, but they are hated. They're loaded by the Iranian people for their betrayal to their country and their countrymen during the Iran-Iraq war and all the crimes that they've committed after that and before that. So the fact that anyone says that the MEK has a chance, it's completely delusion. The MEK has no popular support inside Iran. They don't even have 1% support inside Iran.
Wow.
So the MEK is considered cancer within the Iranian community, inside the diaspora outside of Iran and also inside Iran. No one is willing to get close to them. So the fact that anyone would mention that Reza Pahlavi should sit down with the MEK, first of all, there is no chance that is happening, because the MEK are um, Islamic extremists. They're fanatics, especially when it comes to their ideology. And when it comes to politics, their policy is no Shah, no Sheikh, or no Ayatollah, no mullahs. So there is no way that they're willing to sit down with the Crown Prince, with Reza Pahlavi. So there is never going to be such an alliance.
What do you make of him? What do you make of him and his coming out and saying, hey, we want free trade, we want be friends with Israel, we want to invest in other parts of the world, we want to invite investment in. It sounds like he's not wanting he doesn't want to have a monarch. What do you make? Don't hold back. I mean, we're here about the truth. What do you make of the Prince Pahlavi? What do you make of him? Would he be a good leader? Would he be accepted by the people?
The reality of the matter is, I'm not a monarchist. I'm for the overthrowing of the Islamic Republic and bringing about the ballot box to Iran, freedom and democracy to Iran, where the Iranian people can choose their own leader. But the reality of the matter is that in the past 3 years, from the women's rights, women life freedom movement until now, the only person who has had any popular support inside Iran has been Reza Pahlavi. And that's why people are chanting his name right now. That's why people are chanting Javid Shah inside Iran. It's because they see their hopes in him and only him. Because all the other people, people who pretend to be against the Islamic Republic or are in some way active against the Islamic Republic, the people do not trust them anymore because they have shown their true faces in the past 3 years, especially after the women life freedom movement. So whether anyone likes it or not, this is the will of the people. This is what people are chanting inside the streets. This is what I don't know if you're following the news, but until now we've had more than 12,000 people dead inside Iran.
Following the news, and CBS News here in America is putting it up to 20,000. And we're also getting reports that the security forces are deliberately shooting the protesters in the face, in the eye, in the head, deliberately. They're shooting them in the back. They're shooting them in the back. We have provided the video of the young protesters running away and the forces chasing them and shooting them in the back. We've provided the video. No, we have been on this like white on rice. We're on this.
Exactly.
And we've not stopped. And I'm told we're the premier network in the world. We're being told by Iranians around the world who are contacting our people like Annie and saying, thank you, Worldview Tube. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Brandon. That we're the ones that are staying on this more aggressively and telling the truth and interviewing people like you. And we have more Iranians we're going to be interviewing. We're trying to be the premier network on this because this is a serious, serious issue for the world, for America, for terror funding, for Israel. This is a huge story that the mainstream media is ignoring in America largely, other than a little bit, because it doesn't fit the narrative that Islam is peace, that somehow we can all coexist. Well, that hasn't happened in Egypt. It's not happening in Iran, and it won't happen here with their Sharia and Sharia courts and Sharia patrols and their Sharia compounds and cities they're building and trying to build all over America. It will not work, okay? With that being said, without getting too personal, where are you at religion-wise? Have you completely rejected Islam? Are you atheist or agnostic? Where are you at religiously, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm wholeheartedly against Islam because of my horrible experience. Because the MEK is Islamic. The MEK is more Muslim than the Islamic Republic. Just to let you know.
What can you say that again, please?
The MEK is more Muslim than the Islamic Republic, Ayatollahs.
What do you mean by that?
The rules that they implement inside their own organization, they're much stricter than the rules that the Islamic Republic implements inside Iran. For example, the hijab, right? These days you see that inside Iran, there is the regime, in order to balance the protest of the people, has let loose a little bit the hijab law or the rule. There are some people that you can see in the streets that they're not fully covering their hair. But inside the MEK, women completely have to 100% cover their hair. They cannot roll up their sleeves. They cannot open Their buttons here, their top buttons, they cannot show any sign or any show of any sexual, or they're not allowed to wear makeup. They're not allowed to take care of their face. They have a lot of facial hair. The women. I'm not against that. If someone's a feminism and they like that, I'm not against that. But I just want to say that, like, women inside the MEK have absolutely zero freedom. Zero freedom. Look, when we were in Camp Ashraf, Camp Ashraf is kind of like a small town. It's a 36-kilometer square camp. It's very big. It used to be. We had a gas station inside the camp. They had timed the time where men can use the gas station and the women can use the gas station separately, so that at one point men and women should not be in the same place together. So based on my experience with the MEK, my 18-year experience with the MEK, I wholeheartedly say that the MEK is much more Muslim than the Islamic Republic.
Wow.
And the fact that they add Marxism and communism to this this ideological pot of theirs is makes them twice as much dangerous, because the ideology that they're following, it's a mix of both, as if they're taking the bad of both and then they're implementing it, which they've done inside their camp. And they're imposing on as I explained, the manipulation and the brainwash tactics that they're implementing.
So what are you today? Are you agnostic, atheist? What are you?
I would say that I'm healing. I'm trying to, I believe in God, but I believe that God is inside me. It's in my heart. It's my relationship with him. And in some ways, I would say I'm spiritual. I'm on a journey to find my peace. Mm-hmm. And in that journey,
have you ever read the Bible?
Where it will lead me.
Have you ever read the Bible?
I haven't read the Bible, but the family that I grew up with in Canada, the second family, foster family, which I have close contact with. So my brothers and sisters, they're not my real brothers and sisters, they're my foster family. They're Christian, so they've sent me a lot of information about, the teachings of Christ and Christianity. I haven't read the Bible myself, but yeah.
Well, I'll just say this to you, Ray. I'm happy to also provide you with information, answer any questions you have, because this is what I've done for 36 years as a Christian, study the Bible. And I can tell you without any doubt that there is an answer for man's spiritual condition and peace. And the claims of Jesus as declared in the Bible are true. There's not one contradiction in the scriptures. And when it comes to the originals, the autographs, the original, and then even the manuscripts, the 24,000 plus manuscripts of the New Testament and Old Testament, of the New Testament, there's not any contradiction that involves any major doctrine. It is an amazing book that has even been preserved. Just the fact the Bible has been preserved and can be proven with its authenticity and veracity through manuscripts like the Dead Sea Scrolls that were hidden away in those caves in Qumran outside of Jerusalem for 2,000 years. It's a fascinating book that is a supernatural book written by a supernatural God. And I can tell you any questions you have about the claims of Christ or the Bible, I'm here for you to text with us, to communicate with us, to answer any questions. And I know my audience, which is made up of a lot of Christians, appreciates your courage tonight to come on here and talk about this. But I also know that my audience is going to add you to their prayer list, Ray, and be praying that you find what it seems like you're looking for, as you said, some spiritual truth and peace. Because I know the Prince of Peace, and I have many of my former Muslim friends that are now Christians because they tested the claims of Christ, the claims of the Bible, and now they are some of the most biggest defenders of Christianity. I have friends of mine who are some of the biggest critics of Christianity, who when they studied the scriptures and put it to the test, ended up becoming some of the biggest defenders of Christianity on a worldwide scale with their books, their speaking. So I want to tell you, Ray, I appreciate your honesty. And I appreciate the fact that you're searching and that you're looking. And I'm going to pray that the truth is revealed to you so that you can have that peace that you seek. And I just have a lot of respect for you, that you have the guts to come out and speak the truth as you're doing. So as I get ready to wrap tonight, we need to have you back. What is the final message you want to give to Americans tonight, particularly inside the Republican Party, the GOP, the America First Party, the MAGA, Donald Trump world? What is the message you want to give to those that are promoting MEK? Some of them who are maybe taking their money, others who are not, saying, look, I don't get paid by them, but I believe this is the best group. What is your message to them tonight?
You're beating on a dead horse. That there is no way that the MEK will ever have any place inside Iran, in the Iranian government, and that the reality of the matter is that the Iranian people hate the MEK and they will never accept the MEK as any part of their government. And please do not fall for the MEK propaganda and seek the truth yourself through accounts and individuals who have had personal experience. Let me tell you this, Brandon, I really want to thank you and your team as well, who reached out to me. I told your team that be ready because the MEK will unleash their lobbyists and their campaign on you and your channel. First of all, claiming that I'm an agent of the intelligence agency of the Islamic Republic, because that's how they discredit any critic, right? And then they will try to...
So wait, just over there. So we should be prepared for people to reach out and tell us that you are an agent of the IRGC?
Yes, absolutely. And that's how they've tried to discredit me wherever I've had interviews with anyone or wherever I've gone and presented my facts. And I'm here to say that everything that I speak to you here and your audience tonight or whenever, I'm talking 100% factual, and I'm willing to testify each and every sentence and word of my testimony in any court, now, tomorrow, anytime, and at any time.
Now,
at anywhere in the world.
Colonel Rob Maness today was supposed to have on, was that a co-director of MEK? The deputy director of MEK.
Yeah. Jafarzadeh. I know him personally.
You know him personally. How do you know him?
I know him personally.
How?
Because, like I told you, because in 1998, the MEK recruited me from Canada and then to the US. They smuggled me from Canada to the US. In the US, I was in Virginia. And at that time, the NCRI is the MEK, just to let you know. This is a rebranding campaign that they're trying to pull out. It's not working. The MEK or the NCRI had a big their main headquarters in the US was in Virginia at that time. It was a very big mansion that with several floors and many rooms, and the main MEK and NCRI people were working there. Isa Jafarzadeh was working and sleeping there. And I was also at that time during those months there, sleeping there and helping the MEK with their political activities and their charity events. I personally took, and this is 1998, I personally took a trip. I was at that time I was 16 years old. Alireza Jafarzadeh took me on a personal trip to Arkansas, in which in a span of 3 days, we spoke to many MEK supporters who were living in Arkansas, and we collected money, donations from them, in order to purchase night vision goggles for MEK military teams who at that time were operating inside Iraq against the Islamic Republic through the Iran-Iraq border. They were carrying out military operations. And this is a time, just to let you know, that the MEK was still in the foreign terrorist organizations list. So I personally assisted Alireza Jafarzadeh in this on this trip, in which he collected, I think it was somewhere around, it was a long time ago, it was between $10,000 to $15,000 at that time to purchase night vision goggles for these MEK teams. I don't know if that's legal when the MEK was on the terrorist list. So someone might have to look into that. But I know Alireza Jafarzadeh on a personal note, and he knows me very well as well.
And he would know you by your name, Ray?
Absolutely, he would know me. They all know me. They're afraid of me. That's why I told your team. I think that's why he canceled tonight.
Okay, so what happened for those who maybe don't know is Colonel Rob Maness was set to interview him for the first 30 minutes, Hadia Miramati for the second, and to preside, present both sides, if you will. And Thomas, our board operator, brought the gentleman up, and Thomas says when he saw the lower third, Worldview Tube, he said he reached over and pushed something, and he doesn't know for sure, but he thinks he just hung up. And they tried reaching back to him. Correct, guys? You tried calling back? It was Zoom. So you can't call, but he never came back into the meeting again. He didn't try coming back in. Okay. So if from our perspective, it appears to us, unless he wants to come out in public to say otherwise, it appears to us that when he saw our lower third in Worldview Tube, he disconnected. Now, again, that's what it appears to us. But he didn't come back into the meeting, our guys say, because they wanted him to come back in and have the interview. We want to present all sides, right? Why do you think he would not want to do the interview? What do you think? Do you think he likely saw that and knew, hey, we've been interviewing a lot of people this week against MEK and exposing them? Do you think it's because he heard that earlier today on my broadcast, right before Rob Maness's program, that I was going to have you on, a former child warrior of MEK? Why do you think, if indeed he did disconnect, and it appears as though he did, but I can't say for sure, we'd love for him to reach out to us and tell us what happened, because he never came back into the meeting, our guys are saying. What do you think went on there, in your opinion?
I specifically told your team that I knew that he would be a no-show once you, because I was also listening live, and once you said that you will have me on the show, I knew 100% that he would be a no-show. And the fact of the matter is, go in the past 30 years, try to find one interview, one debate where an MEK member is sitting on one side and a critic is sitting on the other side, and you will never find it, because they will never accept any interview, any show where there will be a critic of them sitting next to them or opposite to them and challenging their points, their policies, their history, the facts that, or the propaganda that they spew online and try to manipulate people. You won't find even one instance. And that's the reality of the MEK. Not Aliza Jafarzadeh, not any of them, not Maya Merjavi. You will never find one interview or debate in which that they have participated in. It's always a series. It's always an interview where the pre-hand they know the questions and they've agreed on which questions that should be asked, and they prepared themselves for the answers in which they want to give. And this is not just in English, but it's also in Farsi. And this is well known within the Iranian community that the MEK is not willing to engage in dialogue, in any sort of debate with its critics or anyone that opposes their policies and their ideology and in general their organization.
Well, we tried offering them. We were willing to offer them 30 minutes of airtime with Colonel Maness and Adia Miramati coming on after to express her concerns about MEK, but apparently that didn't happen. Now, you say be prepared. This is my last question. You said be prepared for them to call you IRGC or whatever else. Is there anything else we should be prepared for when it comes to this group, for interviewing you and continuing to, warn about this group?
I don't think they will ever be on your show again. I don't think they will ever participate. They will ban you from their list of interviews or channels that they will ever participate in, because like I told your team, I'm considered a red line to the MEK. Wherever I go, they keep their distance from me, because that's how afraid of the truth they are.
Wow. Well, that right there says a lot. All right, Ray, we got to get you back. I want to have you back on and talk about Iran, where we're going. Looks like President Trump is not going to strike, which I'm troubled with. We're getting reports that Benjamin Netanyahu's team asked the U.S. to hold off because they're not quite ready for what Iran might do to Israel. We don't know if those reports are true. We're just telling you what the New York Times is reporting. But we want to visit with you more and add you to our group of experts we reach out to talk about all these issues. Would you be willing to do that with us?
Absolutely, Brian. I would love to do that. I also want to let you know that besides the MEK, I'm very connected to the Iranians inside Iran. Of course, right now we've had a complete shutdown of the internet, and we have barely any access inside Iran. But before that, I'm well connected with the Iranian community inside Iran, the youths who are fighting in the streets against the Islamic Republic. So I have firsthand knowledge and information when it comes to youths in the streets fighting against the Islamic Republic, city to city, what their demands are, what they will accept and what they will not accept. And I would be happy to sit down and also talk to you about that as well.
Let's do it next week. Let's have you back on next week. We'll get it set
Absolutely.
up. And if anything comes up, you reach out to us. We'll put you on right away. You have a platform here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Ray, I want people to go to your website and follow you to your Twitter. Let's show it real quick. Ray Torabi. Am I saying it right, Ray?
Ray Torabi, yeah.
Torabi, Ray Torabi, Torabi. His handle is Ray Torabi number 8. RAYTORABI number 8. Follow him, folks. And Ray, we look forward to having you back. Thank you so much for your courage and for your time tonight.
Last word, Brennan. I share a lot of my stories and pains and everything, but I always want to tell the audience that at the end of the day, this is a story with a happy ending. And just as you can see my profile picture, that's the picture of me and my son. And although I grew up without a father and without a family and went through a lot of pain and struggles, but today I'm happy to announce that I'm happily married since 4 years now, and I have 2 children, a son that's just turned 2 last week and a son that's turned 7 months 2 weeks ago. So this is a story with a happy ending. And yeah, that's just something for the audience to know.
That's excellent. And I think you have made your way into the hearts of a lot of our viewers tonight. Absolutely. And I know a lot of them will be praying for you and your family and peace and happiness and protection. And then also to have truth revealed to you as you are on your own self-described spiritual journey. And so I think you worked your way into the hearts of a lot of our viewers tonight, Ray. And we look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
And thank your family for having the patience to have us on with you tonight.
I will.
Ray checking in from Germany tonight. Wow. Powerful. Absolutely powerful. And you're going to want to spread this far and wide when we post it tomorrow morning at worldviewtube.com. You're going to want to tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social, whatever you do. You're going to want to put this out there far and wide. Can I ask you this? Do you appreciate what we're doing? There are no commercial breaks in there. We are trying to give a platform to people for truth. And we're giving a platform to a lot of people that are very courageous. And if you appreciate what we're doing, will you help us so we can keep giving people like Ray, Anni Cyrus, Sharam, Usama, all these other brave broadcast partners a platform? Many of them say, look, Brandon, I could not reach the audience that I'm reaching if you had not provided the platform. And folks, this platform has cost us a fortune to build over the years, and it is very expensive to maintain. So if you appreciate this, don't curse the darkness. Be proactive. And one way you can do that is by going to worldviewfoundation.com and making a contribution of any size. And don't forget our foundation, that is our church. We have a church service on Sunday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. We're teaching through the book of Daniel right now. So thank you. Worldviewfoundation.com and also worldviewtube.com/sponsors. And those companies are great companies, great products we endorse. And with each purchase, you're supporting us as well. A couple great ways to support us to keep this going. We're going to be right back with a very important debate between Clare Lopez and Anni Cyrus. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Introducing the next generation of clean, Norwex Power Cleaning Paste. Simply scrub and swipe. It's your elbow grease in a jar. Formulated for a safer, more effective clean. Contains no bleach, SLS, synthetic fragrances, or other harsh chemicals. Say goodbye to tough messes and stubborn stains. With Norwex Power Cleaning Paste, nothing is permanent. Norwex Power Cleaning Paste. Cleaner, safer, better.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisol collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
All right, joining me now is Anni Cyrus and Clare Lopez. They are both longtime friends. Clare has been at this desk doing a whole series on Hezbollah. That was excellent. She's been here also for several other events we've done with our friend Dr. Peter Pry. She was in some of my documentaries. She's done some excellent work over the years, writing papers on the Club K cargo system, the about $10 million system you could buy out of Russia, and the threats that poses to the country. Clare and I have worked on a lot of things together, and she's become a great friend over many years. Of course, we all know Annie. She's here regularly and has a show here. So what we're doing tonight is offering Clare and Annie an opportunity to talk about MEK, or to talk about the prince, the Shah's son. Now, as you guys know, this has been very controversial because there are some inside the America First movement, the conservative movement, the RNC, the GOP, whatever you want to say, that are supporting MEK. There are others that are not supporting MEK. You just saw the interview with the former MEK guy, and you can see why. Now, the issue for us is we like a lot of these people. We might disagree with them, but as Ronald Reagan said, someone that I agree with 80% of the time is not a 20% enemy. So what we want to do, and this is what we love doing here, is debates or sharing back and forth. So that's what we're doing tonight. And we're all friends. We've all respected each other and worked together for a lot of years. And sometimes we just have to agree to disagree. And yet the best thing we can do is, well, do what we like to do here, as I said, which is open it up, have a debate, share ideas, and let the public decide where they want to come down. So that's what we're going to do. So with that, let me welcome back Clare Lopez, former CIA operations officer, and again, someone we've worked with very closely over the years and appreciate so much. Clare, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to be back with both of you.
And Clare, you're also a former Marine. You're a former CIA operations officer and a former Marine.
Well, I was almost a Marine. I should clarify just a bit. I completed officer candidate school for the Marine Corps at Quantico, but I had an application already pending previously with the agency.
Okay.
And what happened is that my offer letter from the agency actually arrived while I was at OCS. And so I completed the course, went into the captain before graduation, and said, I'm not going to go ahead with graduation because that includes taking the oath of service for, I think it was 3 years, and I wasn't going to do that now. And so I completed the course, but I did not graduate, and off I went to another career.
Well, I don't think I knew that part of the story, so I'm glad I asked. Annie, welcome back. Appreciate your being here as well.
Glad to be back. Great to see you, Clare.
You too.
All right, let's pick it up here. Let's give, we've heard a lot from Annie this week, so let's give Clare the first go at it. Clare, a lot of folks have heard about MEK this week from us. I'm not a fan of MEK from what I've heard. What do you say about MEK? And are you like somewhat of a supporter? Are you a full-fledged supporter? Are you a supporter with reservations? Where do you stand on MEK?
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me. And, you know, the first thing I would say is that my priority is always going to be American national security interests first. And so I always look at these issues from that perspective first. And the reason that I have supported for more than 20 years now, actually the NCRI, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, that is the political umbrella group founded in 1981 in Iran that includes the Mujahideen Khalq, MEK, as its largest and founding member of the NCRI. But the reason I support the NCRI is, as I said, first of all, that I have worked with them personally for more than 20 years. I have known them personally, worked with them personally, both here in the United States as well as over in France, in Paris, and other locations. And here's the reason why I support the NCRI from an America First perspective. And that is because their foundational principles match our own very closely. And I would recommend for our viewers to have a look at either the National Council of Resistance of Iran's own website, or else you can also go to the website of its president-elect, Maryam Rajavi. Either one of those two websites will take you to a description of their history, background, platform, policies, and how they envision an Iran after the fall of this current Islamic Republic of Iran oppressive theocratic regime. And what I would point to in particular, which gets my attention, are what's called the 10-point plan of Maryam Rajavi. This is a 10-point policy platform that was first published by the NCRI back in 2006. And I won't read through all of them, all 10. You can go to the website and find that. But here is what resonates for me. And the first thing, of course, is that the group aspires to establish a secular democratic republic to replace the Vilayet Faqih, the theocratic rule of the current Islamic Republic of Iran. That's number one. And then following points include support for positions for liberties that we would recognize immediately from our own foundational documents, the Bill of Rights in particular, the Constitution, and of course the Declaration of Independence. There is explicit support in the 10-point plan for freedom of belief, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly. All of those things we would recognize from our own First Amendment. And then a commitment to a non-nuclear Iran. I think that's incredibly important. A commitment to defense support for the ethnic group equality and liberties. The gender, the abolition, I should say, of the mullahs' gender horrific policies against women. So gender equality, universal suffrage based on free and fair elections, disbanding all the agencies that are in charge of censorship and inquisition. That would be the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, obviously, the subordinate units of the Quds Force and Basij. All of those would have to be abolished and replaced. So I won't go down through all the rest of the list, although we can if you'd like later. But those are the highlights for me. And then the reason why I would support the organization, the NCRI, is because they have not only set forth this platform of policy positions that go back now 20 years, founded, or I should say published in 2006 first, but also because they have established a transitional leadership council. I have sat at the table with those people in Paris. I have listened to them. They include at least one atheist that I remember, Baha'is, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, all on that leadership council. But that council is ready to take up the role of a transition period after this regime is no more. Now, between now and then is the part about getting rid of the regime. Well, how does that happen? That happens because of the role of the Mujahideen Khalq resistance forces on the ground inside of Iran, where they have been fighting and dying, getting arrested, tortured, and killed by this regime for coming on now 47 years. And it is that set of resistance forces inside of Iran that, for example, first alerted the public in the outside world to the existence of an Iranian regime nuclear weapons program. That happened back in 2002 with the revelation about Natanz, the enrichment facility, Kali electric plant. Others followed. Lavizan Shian, for example, Fardo, another enrichment plant. The one that, yes, Natanz and Fardo both hit by the Israeli Operation Rising Lion back in June of 25, and then by the United States Operation Midnight Hammer. So that role, working on the ground inside of Iran, in touch with the Iranian people for all of these 47 years of this regime, I think that gives credibility to the Mujahideen Khalq and the NCRI, and the fact that they are connected not only on the inside, but with the Iranian people in the diaspora. As I've mentioned, the headquarters of the NCRI in Paris, where I've been, another headquarters established outside of Tirana in Albania a few years ago. So in touch on the inside with the people of Iran for 47 years and more. And then on the outside, connected all over the free world, many countries in Europe, the United States, in the diaspora, the Iranian people's diaspora. So those are the reasons why I think these make good partners for the United States and our national security as we look to how this regime currently in power might be removed. And what would replace it would be a completely different set of characters who would establish, as I've mentioned, the kind of a secular democratic republic that would end all support for the terrorist jihadist Islamic Jihad organizations in the Middle East. Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, the Hashd al-Shaabi in Iraq, all of that ends. This is to our benefit, American national security. This is the regime that brought us 9/11, organized, directed, and executed the attacks of 9/11. Not to mention other attacks against American forces all over these 47 years. It would bring a completely different set of relationships in the Middle East with our number one friend and ally, Israel, obviously, but as well with many of the other countries of the region, to include the Sunni countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council, of the Abraham Accords, and I think maybe most importantly, with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So let me stop there, and we can
Okay.
go on And
Excellent.
let's hear from Annie next.
Thank you, Claire. Go ahead, Annie. Your introduction on all this.
Actually, is it okay if I don't have an introduction? I actually have a couple of questions for Claire.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So let me rephrase Brandon's question. We understand that you support the political umbrella of NCRI, but do you support MEK, Mujahideen Khalq?
Well, they're the leading member, the largest, best organized, oldest member of the NCRI.
No, I understand, but my question is, do you support
entirety?
MEK?
Yes, in its entirety, yes.
Okay, so do you support MEK because you have forgiven them for being involved in killing U.S. soldiers, or do you think they have reformed their methods and they're not going to do it in the future?
Well, actually, in fact, if you're referring to the killing of Americans back in the 1970s, that wasn't the MEK at all. It couldn't possibly have been. And the reason it could not have been is that the entire top leadership and many hundreds of members of the MEK were already languishing in the Shah's jails. They were in prison. They had no possibility of engaging in such a killing of Americans, which they wouldn't do anyway, but they were in jail. They couldn't have done it.
So our Congress got it wrong, and the MEK, new MEK people who admitted to it while being unlisted from our terrorist list also got it wrong.
But we know that
because this is recorded
leadership
on Congress that it was MEK involved for U.S.
Yes, yeah, definitely a mistake.
So Congress got it wrong. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So do you believe that Mujahideen Khalq, MEK, has never committed any act of terror?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay,
they have fought against the regime of the Islamic Republic for all of these 47 years, yes, but not against civilians, no, not as terrorists. And for that reason, precisely, both the MEK and the NCRI were removed from their mistaken listing previously on the United States Foreign Terrorist Organizations list after litigating that listing through the U.S. courts for many years.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that wasn't...
The courts ruled... I was just going to finish here. The courts ruled in 2012 that they did not belong on that list, and they were subsequently removed, both of them.
That is not what the Congress record or Department of Treasury says. They said they were involved with the killing of U.S. soldiers. They did commit other acts of terror. However, lobbying through Hillary Clinton, Rudy Giuliani, they have changed. They rebranded themselves to NCRI. They have changed their methods. They're not doing that anymore. That's the record, at least. And I understand you're on the side of it was all a misunderstanding, and MEK has never committed an act of terror.
Correct. But, yes, that's what I think. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And the American courts, of course, agreed with that in their ruling in 2012,
was that?
Which is why the NCRI and Mujahideen Khalq MEK were both removed from the Foreign Organizations list.
Which court was that?
The American courts,
where do we find that document? Because we have the documents of Department of Treasury and Congress saying as early as February of 2025, saying they are still concerned with MEK being unlisted. So where do we find the document of the court that says this was a mistake by U.S. government? They have never committed any act of terror, therefore they're being unlisted. So where do we find that?
The best place probably to start would be the website of the NCRI, the National Council of Resistance.
No, outside of their website. Like,
well, there would be the documents from the courts. That's why I'm mentioning
documents of the court. Okay, I'll check that in a minute. So would you also refute that Maryam Rajavi, Masoud Rajavi, and the entire MEK joined Saddam Hussein, collaborating with him with intel information during Iran-Iraq war?
No, I wouldn't put it that way at all. Rather, after the Ayatollah Khomeini swept to power in 78, 79, the Shah fled with his family. and the mullahs took over. It was expected by many who had supported the Ayatollah Khomeini previously, expected that free and fair parliamentary majlis elections would follow. And so the leader at the time, Masoud Rajavi of the MEK, began to campaign. And he spoke to stadiums full of tens of thousands of Iranians to begin that campaign for parliament, for the majlis. However, what happened instead is that the Ayatollah Khomeini's regime quickly established the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which took to the streets and literally mowed people down by the hundreds in the streets. At that point, the MEK realized what a blunder they'd made in supporting him, and I suppose the others did too, and they fled. The MEK fled Iran across the border, the closest border, which was across, and they found safe haven refuge in Iraq. It doesn't mean that they supported it doesn't mean that they supported. I'm getting a message that the session has just ended.
No, you're still here. You're still here.
All right. Somehow that message is mistaken. I got a screen.
No, you're still here.
Okay, so they found safe haven refuge in Iraq, but that does not mean in any way, shape, or form that.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna cut you short because hold on,
of Iran, but rather
Claire,
that
1 second.
from Iraq, the MEK continued its attacks against the regime in Tehran, the regime of the Ayatollah Khomeini, because that was the enemy. They were not actually aligned with Saddam Hussein.
Maybe I'm just muted. Am I mute? Claire, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So I understand your talking points. Trust me, I have dealt with MEK for a long time. Let's put the talking point. We don't have to victimize MEK. MEK was not they're not victims. So let's put all the longest stories, just for the sake of time, that is. We can schedule it, I don't know, 2-3 hours later for sake of time. So you also dispute that Maryam Rajavi, Masoud Rajavi, and MEK were involved with any of Saddam Hussein military actions against Iran and Iranians during the 8 Years' War. You also dispute that.
As far as I know, they operated independently of Saddam Hussein's army, his military invasion of Iran, but rather launched from camps inside of Iraq their own attacks, separate attacks from Iraq across the border into Iran against the Khomeini regime.
Okay, perfect. So now, since you said that, you're referring to Forough Javidan. An actual military action taken by MEK, correct? The one that they somewhat got into. Attacks. Well, they're most famous.
There were multiple attacks, yes.
Okay. Military action, military operation, correct? Okay. So would you agree that supposedly they were going against the regime because Khomeini actually took away the fair election for all candidates, not just Maryam or Masoud Rajavi. But while doing so, they also killed innocent Iranians that had nothing to do with it? Or we're going to dispute that too?
In every kind of military action, there is all too often collateral damage.
No, the answer is a yes or no. No. My people weren't collateral. No, Claire, hold on. I'm not doing this, Claire.
The target of the attacks was never civilians.
Claire.
No. The target of the attacks was always
I know you can't hear me,
figures.
and I know you're pretending like you can't hear me. I don't need a backstory for MEK. I'm asking you straight answers, and you have not answered a single one of them. You just keep telling me stories that you have heard, and you finish them with, as far as I know. So how far do you know? Were you in Iran during Iran-Iraq war? No. I understand looking at this from America first. I completely understand that. But I don't think even myself as an American Iranian have the right to create narrative that there is no proof for. Now, everything we're saying, there are at least proof for. Logan, on the email you have, there is a picture of Masood and Mayim Rajavi in their military uniform right before the Forough Javidan military action of them that ended up killing 600 civilians. And they were very aware. And for you to say, unfortunately, for any military attack, how do we say this is a military attack when MEK was just a rogue militia? They weren't a government. You're okay with a rogue militia who's upset with the regime to just militarily strike on citizens and then say this was a casualty? No, they were not a government. Hold on. They were not a government to strike any kind of military strike on Iran. They were under, and again, the proof for our audience, the proof for MEK directly advising, counseling Saddam Hussein during 8 years' war is absolutely publicly available. From their handshakes to their meetings, to the paperwork, to the financial transitions between Saddam Hussein and Masoud Rajavi. These are literally public records. We refute that. They did not give Saddam Hussein any information, any intel for Saddam Hussein to come all the way to Bandar Abbas and Ahvaz. They did. They betrayed their own people. They got Iranians killed during 8 years' war because they were upset that they were fooled by Khomeini. That is no excuse for anyone to give a green light or a free pass to a Marxist Islamist group saying, well, they were just defending their right to a fair election.
Well, unfortunately, both Saddam Hussein and the MEK were fighting against the same illegitimate regime of the Ayatollah Khomeini. And they had the same enemy in that period of time. However, that was some 7 years ago. And I would say that in particular now, this organization of the MEK is neither Marxist nor Islamic in the same sense as the regime in Tehran is. Yes, when the MEK was founded by students back in the universities in Iran in the 1960s, some of those definitely were Marxists. But today, as we've seen over many years now, the commitment of the MEK is to a free market capitalist system, and they are no longer Marxist in any sense of the term whatsoever, and neither do they follow the same sort of beliefs, a Velayat Faqih system that the Ayatollah's regime does. As a matter of fact, there's a reason why the Tehran regime of the Islamic Republic calls them munafiqeen. Munafiqeen means hypocrites. In other words, they're not aligned with the way that the Khomeini regime imposes a theocratic dictatorship on the people of Iran.
So let me ask you this. If that is the case, why is Mayim Rajavi the president-elect since 1993? How come there has never been a free election inside MEK itself since 93?
Because they are aligned. They are all in agreement at that leadership council level and among the membership of the MEK. I know this because I've been with them for 20-something years.
So since 1993, there has not been one individual in that whole group that might have been a better brain, more intelligent, more powerful, better nobody that could have been better than Mayim Rajavi since 93.
Well, I mean, if there had been, they could find them for themselves. I'm sure they would have if they could have. Sure.
So they do, like every year or every 4 year or every 8 year, Mayim Rajavi announced like, hey, if anybody wants to run for my place and campaign, they're free to do so, but nobody shows up, right?
No, it's not like that. It's a very unified team, a very unified group, organization, with free and open discussion, including debate, including disagreement among them about what to do next, what should we follow, what policies. Very free and open discussion. I've seen it. I've been there in person, and so I think that it's a quite unified organization.
So let me actually ask you another question, because I have had you on my show many times where we discussed Islam, and you personally have expanded on the concept of taqiyya many times, correct?
I have. Yes, indeed.
Okay. So why are we so positive? Because Maryam Rajavi herself is a practicing Muslim, correct?
I believe most of them are, yes.
Okay.
Although, again, termed munafiqeen by the regime because they
here's the thing. No. Wait. You can't say no. That was a Mississippi. Claire, you cannot say Islamic regime framed MEK, but then say if regime calls them munafiqeen, then that's the proof. Either whatever regime of Iran said about MEK is true, or none of it is true. If regime of Iran framed to make MEK look like a terrorist, therefore what regime thinks of MEK doesn't count as a proof of them being munafiqeen either, which, by the way, munafiqeen has nothing to do with your Muslim roots or not. Munafiqeen means those who create division and chaos. It doesn't mean non-believers, it doesn't mean kafirs, it doesn't mean infidel. Munafiqeen are those who create division and chaos. Even with that,
munafiqeen refers to hypocrisy, fitna, in other words, within Islam, as the regime in Tehran.
Munafiqeen does not root in the word fitna. It doesn't. Munafiqeen literally
those are aligned terms. Those terms,
yes, but
organization are aligned together. They are called munafiqeen. They are called hypocrites because they create.
Right, but they're also called terrorists. But they're also called terrorists
because they do not follow Sharia. They do not follow Islamic law.
Maryam Rajavi follows Sharia
regime in
to the
Tehran
T.
does.
Maryam Rajavi, first of all, Maryam Rajavi and Masoud Rajavi, they both follow Sharia. Secondly, again, Islamic Iran has called MEK terrorist, munafiqeen, right? We don't get to cherry pick. It's either both applies or none applies. You can't rely on one source as one point that benefits the group and then overwrites their claim on the other side that doesn't benefit the group. Now, all that is irrelevant to what I asked. Is Maryam Rajavi a Muslim, a practicing Muslim?
She is a practicing Muslim who does not abide by the laws of Sharia. For example, in particular,
don't start the story. You answered the question. No. You're dragging
what I wanted to
you're
say
dragging
here
the conversation to fit in the talking points.
And they do no. Finish my sentence.
Because I asked you to not do talking points.
I'm trying to finish my sentence.
I'm not even talking Sharia. Did I ask Sharia?
Yes.
I just said no. I said that. Forget that wasn't my question. Why are you inserting your inserting your talking points?
So
you're inserting your talking points.
That
Claire,
they do not follow.
The question is, why do you think Muslims practice taqiyya, but when it comes to Maryam Rajavi, he doesn't?
If I could just finish my sentence.
I can't keep up with either one of you. You're talking over.
Well, because she keeps dragging talking points. She doesn't want to answer questions.
Okay. Let me ask it this way. Let me ask it this way. If she is not practicing Sharia, why is she wearing a hijab all the time?
That's the bare minimum.
Because that is their tradition. It absolutely is. But the part of Sharia that I think is most important for us to highlight here that they do not want any part of is jihad. They absolutely
Is that what they call themselves, mujahideen?
Absolutely and completely reject the practice, the pursuit of jihad as mandated in Islamic law. In
Okay,
Sharia.
let me ask you
That
then.
is partly why.
Whoa, let me ask you, what is
No.
what did you just say their name means, Annie? What does their name mean?
If they don't want jihad, why are they called Mujahideen Khalq?
That was their
Jihad
original
is
name. Yes.
It still is on their own website. They have the Mujahideen.
They have never changed the name. But they do
Okay,
not
so-
wage jihad against anyone and reject the concept of jihad
Except Iranian
when
people.
they, in their foundational principles, reject any kind of support for Islamic jihad organizations like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Hashd-e-Shabi, completely reject in their, go to the website, you can see what I'm talking about, reject jihad in today's foundation, well, today, going back to 2006, the foundational principles of the group.
So they have reformed.
Absolutely changed in that
Okay.
way from the name, the original name, Mujahideen Khalq.
Let me ask you a question. I don't want to.
So, that does not wage jihad or support it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. It's not possible, but we say there is a scenario where it is possible. Maryam Rajabi is running for president, Senate, or Congress in America. She has your vote?
Well, no, she's not an American.
No, I did say it's not going to be possible, but if there was a scenario that she was, she did have the qualifications, American citizen running for Senate or Congress, would you vote for her?
I have other candidates in mind that I have voted for.
I rest my case. Again. Go ahead, Brian. The floor is
So
yours.
what I would ask is, we had the man who was a fighter, a warrior with MEK for, I think it was 18 years, and his testimony is pretty damning for MEK, including, he says, traveling with some of their leaders, including their co-director down here to Arkansas. He pointed us to Human Rights Watch, and Human Rights Watch has quite a report on them about their abuses, and they're claiming elimination of people, including his father. When his father was in one of their camps, he'd been with them. I guess there was a disagreement. According to Human Rights Watch, his father was eliminated by them. What do you make of Human Rights Watch talking about abuse by this group, MEK?
All I can say is that in my 20 plus years working with the group, with the NCRI in particular, I have never, ever witnessed anything of the sort. I do not know this individual you interviewed a bit ago or his story. I do know that Human Rights Watch does get things wrong sometimes. Okay.
Well, here's the website. Here's the website if people want to go to it, hrw.org. If they just, type in Human Rights Watch and MEK, there are all the testimonials and the reports and everything. I guess one of my questions would be, okay, let's say you don't want the prince, and some people don't want MEK. Why can't Americans not find a group that they can support and get behind that doesn't have the past that MEK does? It clearly has a past. I mean, they were on the terrorist organization watch list. Is there not some group better than MEK that conservatives can find to support?
Well, here's what I would say. After I place America first, I would also say that whatever form of government replaces the current regime, when that regime goes down, that must be left up to the Iranian people. We're Americans.
Well, to that point,
it is not for us to say whom the Iranian people might choose. And if they choose, to stand behind a unifying figure, perhaps like Reza Pahlavi, that would be the choice of the Iranian people. And it's up to them. It is not up to us.
Well, and to that point, Ray said you won't find grass support for MEK in Iran. That on the streets and in the grass support, you will not find support. People will not support them. They have no support. And it is actually Pahlavi that is rising in support there. So I don't understand why people keep then promoting MEK if they don't even have support among the people. That'd be number one. But number two, why will their people not come on and debate? Why does?
Well, they do. They're on air all the time.
Well, they won't come on with us.
If you're on social media,
No, they're
We
not
just-
on air
we-
debating either. No, they go solo on other shows. There is not a single debate of Ali Musavi or Ali Reza Jafarzadeh or Mariam Rajavi for herself on any debates. They show up, they do their talking point, they go home. And if they do accept to come on certain networks like Brana's network, they hang up. They don't even show up.
We had the co-director scheduled today, and apparently, according to the guy in the control room, he had him in the Zoom meeting ready to go. And when our lower third came up, he saw Worldview Tube. He said he disconnected. Now, that's what our guy says. We sat and waited for him to come back into the Zoom meeting to do the interview, which was going to be with a guy, Colonel Manus, who's friendly to MEK. The only thing that maybe upset him was they heard we were going to have a former MEK who I didn't know at the time, but now after the interview, Ray says, well, that guy knows me. I lived in the building with him. I traveled down to Arkansas with him. And if these guys knew that you were having me on, they would probably not be happy. I wouldn't be shocked they disconnected. So what I want to know is, why do MEK people not want to come on a network and do what we're doing tonight?
Well, I can't speak for anyone else besides myself, but what I will say is that the Islamic Republic of Iran's regime is really, really good at propaganda, information operations, and we should keep that in mind.
Okay, wait a minute. Are you?
And we
not
should
saying-
also keep in mind, I'm sorry, since we're talking about information for public, we should also be very aware that MEK has plenty money to spend, and they have hired PR companies in America to run their propaganda. They have even taken ads on newspapers to promote themselves as these decent, good, misunderstood people. So as I posted on my Facebook today, we're fighting two propaganda machines, the Islamic Republic of Iran's regime and mullahs and the MEK. Both are pushing propaganda.
Well, all I can say is that people, media, journalists, researchers, and individuals are going to have to do their own homework, as I have done, as we have done.
Yes, but could I point one thing out? Since you said, like, let's say if your readers were trusting you to give them your research and your information, your most recent article on Newsmax, on paragraph 17, you start by saying, and even though some Iranians are chanting for the return to Iran of Reza Pahlavi, son of the last Shah, who has not been back to Iran since he was 17, but instead made a successful business career in the United States since 1979, others are heard to insist no to Mullah, no to Shah, and instead are calling for a democratic republic in Iran. For his part, the Crown Prince has used social media to call the people into the streets and ask President Trump to intervene to help the people of Iran. Pahlavi has also declared he is prepared to return to the homeland so that at the time of our national revolution's victory, I can be beside you, the great nation of Iran. None of Iran opposition groups, however, has provided a policy blueprint in a future after the Islamic Republic has fallen, except the National Council of Resistance of Iran, NCRI. Under the leadership of Mariam Rajavi, the NCRI's president-elect, the NCRI first published in 2006 a 10-point plan that calls for, go on. Why would you say NCRI is the only opposition? You see, this is misinformation you're putting out, because there is the Phoenix Project.
Chat a link to any other organization's platform. We could
Brandon,
look at
if
that.
you want to put it up, the Phoenix Project of Iran that was published in 2018 and launched as a think tank in 2019, which was founded by Crown Prince Pahlavi, has 7 different departments of research. That is for the transitional 100-day plan after the fall of regime, And it's not just about copy pasting Declaration of Human Rights and American Constitution. It actually has breakdown of logistics and management, economy, health and medicine, justice and security, foreign policy, and public relations and media. And some of the board members as followed: Dr. Armand, who is the president of coordinating committee. He's a veteran expert in energy system and international development. We have Dr. Farrokh Zandi, vice president, economist and scholar with land leadership in trade and policy reform. We have Dr. Shima, treasurer and executive member, who's a public administration and international affairs professional. And list goes on and on and on. You see, Prince Pahlavi, here's the difference. Maryam Rajavi, everything. Like, guys, we do have the link to the 10-point plan of NCRI, if we could put that up, to make a very brief point there, because we just showed the Phoenix project. Maryam Rajavi, though, she's...
Project link. Put the Phoenix Project link up in the chat, too. We should have that there. Yeah.
By chat, you mean the Zoom chat for you, or you mean chat
well, for the audience? For the audience. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So Logan's working on it. And if we could put up the 20-point plan page, there you go. Go to the very top. Go up. There, a little bit more up. I'm not saying the top. There you go. Maryam Rajavi's 10-point plan for the future of Iran. The difference is Maryam Rajavi's this and Maryam Rajavi's that and Maryam Rajavi's blah, blah, blah. However, MEK gets to say, where has Crown Prince Pahlavi been? You know where he's been? He has been a team player, putting actual teams together instead of plastering his own crown all over the social media. There are projects, there are seminars, there are webinars, there are connections that are moving forward. Rob Manus admittedly today on his show said, I'll admit that the blueprint of Prince Pahlavi is superior to the 10 points of Maryam Rajavi. But we don't say that. And the reason I'm bringing that up is, you know, Claire, we stayed up all night in Canada talking. I have the utmost respect for your research, for your clarity. When I read that article, I was disappointed that you would say they are the only opposition group and then go with 10 points is plenty. No, they are not the only opposition group. Prince Pahlavi has been working on this for a long time. Joe, first of all, he was 19.
Absolutely. Perhaps he was not something in an outlet that summarizes that Phoenix plan and get that published.
Oh, they have a
more people
full
can
English
see
website.
it. You know, I think people are probably not aware of it, and by publishing, perhaps bring some attention to it.
Many are actually the traffic on, and by the way, since we're promoting it, the Phoenix Project of Iran, when it started in 2018, the numbers were a handful. Today, when you look, they have created this network for all, not just Muslims, not just Shias, not just Iranians, for anyone with area of expertise like the list I read, to join this think tank to help a brighter Iran that will create a brighter world. If that is not teamwork, if that is not the true color of leadership, and again, I go back to what I've been saying, to be fair, if we're willing to accept a reform on just Maryam Rajavi herself, she has reform, she does not commit jihad, she wants to do a peaceful transition, why are we judging Reza Pahlavi on his father time of power? You guys aren't even giving him a chance.
I think we probably here are not judging him. No.
But here's your own words, Claire. Let's read. Even though some Iranians are chanting for the return to Iran of Reza Pahlavi, you even refuse to say Crown Prince Pahlavi because he's not to you. Son of the last Shah, who has not been back to Iran since he was 17, but instead made a successful business career in the United States since 1979. That is not an unbiased introducing of a secondary opposition. First of all, I thought we like successful business people. Isn't that what we like, Trump?
Absolutely.
Isn't that
That's
a
why I
plus?
highlighted it. Yes, that's why I highlighted it.
No, you did not highlight that.
Definitely.
No, now we're reading the way you wrote. I'm reading your words by word. And here's the thing. You could have said the Crown Prince Pahlavi, right? Every single talking point I have heard from MEK themselves and supporters of MEK is son of Shah, the torturer, murderer, dictator. Okay, you know what? Everybody's correct. Reza Pahlavi, late Shah of Iran, was the monster. What does that have to do with his son?
I never said that. I didn't.
No,
like that.
I'm talking about the group that you support. You put your full support behind MEK. So I'm asking you as a
article at all.
I'm asking you as a supporter of MEK, why haven't you contacted them and say, hey, why don't we not smear this guy on the name of his father? Don't you think that would be fair?
Together, we do. We speak often together, but their public relations is up to them, not me.
Yeah, but you could make a suggestion. You're saying they're all about democracy, freedom, cooperation, teamwork. So you could just at least make a suggestion. There won't be a punishment in that. It's just, hey,
we speak
guys,
often together.
There you go. But that's the thing. He's been doing plenty. He didn't just, first of all, he was 19 when the revolution happened. He was born in 1960. The revolution was 79. But point is, he wasn't just in America making a business. He's done plenty. Plenty. To minimize him to 2 lines of he hasn't been to Iran. And that's the thing. Maryam Rajavi hasn't been to Iran since they invaded few inches of our land in 89. It's not like she was in the middle of Tehran all day long. That, you see, these are the little journalism hints, and I'm a journalist. I pick them up. If we want to be honest, if this is about people of Iran and educating Americans, we should put the fair information instead of minimizing the man who was exiled.
You might want to do that. I would say you should.
I have been doing it. I have been
write an article
I've
and
been on
publish
it on 18
with all of
days.
that, your points in the article. Publish that.
I've done it. I've done it over and over. I have that's I never make suggestions that I haven't done myself, but I wanted to be very clear that the reason I was rattled is, again, comes back from the utmost respect I have for your work, for your clarity, for your detail, going into all the, when I read this, I'm like, Claire knows more than this about Reza Pahlavi.
Well, you
when
know,
the rest
again,
of the
bottom line, again, the bottom line for us as Americans is American national security first.
Yes.
And then the rest must be up to the Iranian people. It's not up to us. We can opine. We can.
It is up to us.
We can speak. But in the end, this really must be up to the Iranian people themselves to decide how they will establish their own leadership after this regime is gone.
But you know, and not you personally, you know how America operates. You've seen the color revolution and the 79 was a hijacked revolution itself, wasn't it? So we both know the chance of Iranian people standing a chance to pick their own leadership is very slim, especially if any help comes from America. They're not going to, from America, they're not going to get that luxury. But I think at least they should get a fair argument from American people who do care for Iranian people's freedom to override everything. MEK has always been misunderstood. Human Rights Watch got them wrong. Congress got them wrong. Department of Treasury got it wrong. Iranians got them right. I think that's not, I mean, it's not even, to me, it's not even America's national security point of view. And again, if you're not willing to vote for someone in America, I don't know how we would promote them for another country to vote for. Because if you ask me, if Crown Prince Pahlavi, who's an American citizen, if he runs for Congress tomorrow, he absolutely has my vote. Not because of his last name, because of his 100-day policy out there that is impressive. Because of the video. Have you seen his video last night that he released talking to the world?
No, I have not had the chance yet.
Do you mind, Brannon, is there any way we can play the first minute of it for Claire to
Well,
Listen, and your audience.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the that.
Logan, you got it? Logan's got it. We played it on radio today.
Okay.
So let's play this, and then we'll do a quick Clare Lopez respond, and we'll get ready to wrap. Again, it's a debate, MEK versus Pahlavi. And I just wish the leaders of MEK would come on here. We tried to give them 30 minutes, but apparently the guy didn't want to stay on when he found out it was Worldview Tube, or I don't know why he left, but he didn't come back into the room. And I can't find, if anyone can correct me, I can't find one place where those guys are debating people. And
They don't debate.
so anyway, here we go. Watch this.
To all of our friends around the world, under the yoke of the Islamic Republic, Iran is identified in your minds with terrorism, extremism, and poverty. The real Iran is a different Iran, a beautiful, peace-loving, and flourishing Iran. It is the Iran that existed before the Islamic Republic, and it is the Iran that will rise again from its ashes the day the Islamic Republic falls. So let me be clear about how a free Iran will act towards its neighbors and the world after the fall of this regime. In security and foreign policy, Iran's nuclear military program will end. Support for terrorist groups will cease immediately. A free Iran will work with regional and global partners to confront terrorism, organized crime, drug trafficking, and extremist Islamism. Iran will act as a friend and a stabilizing force in the region, and it will be a responsible partner in global security. In diplomacy, relations with the United States will be normalized, and our friendship with America and her people will be restored. The State of Israel will be recognized immediately. We will pursue the expansion of the Abraham Accords into the Cyrus Accords, bringing together a free Iran, Israel, and the Arab world. A new chapter will begin, grounded in mutual recognition, sovereignty, and national interest.
There you go.
In energy, Iran holds some of the largest oil and gas reserves in the world. A free Iran will become a reliable energy supplier to the free world. Policymaking will be transparent. Iran's actions will be responsible. Prices will be predictable. In transparency and governance, Iran will adopt and enforce international standards. Money laundering will be confronted. Organized corruption will be dismantled. Public institutions will answer to the people. In the economy, Iran is one of the world's last great untapped markets. Our population is educated, modern, with a diaspora that connects it to the four corners of the world. A democratic Iran will open its economy to trade, investment, and innovation.
All right, we'll hold it right
And
there.
Iran
So
will
that's pretty
seek to
key.
invest
So
in-
let me go ahead, Annie.
So I have personally not heard any statement written or on video from Mayim Rajavi ever saying that she's gonna recognize Israel. That one I give credit. But my question is, Claire, now you have and I will personally email you the link to the Phoenix Project. When you read the Phoenix Project, are you willing to do another Newsmax article introducing a second blueprint for after the fall of regime?
Well, I will need to read through it first, which I'll do. Absolutely. Thanks for sending it to me. But, you know, in conclusion, what I would say is that I have a great deal of confidence in the Iranian people. These are a great people with a magnificent civilizational history. And I have every confidence that they will make the right choices for themselves, for the Iranian people, for Iran. With some help from the outside, I think that's needed. But one way or another, this current regime of the Islamic Republic is going down. The days are numbered. And
Absolutely.
I trust and support the Iranian people in the choices I know they will make that are best for themselves.
So let me see if I can
Mo, I'm sorry, can I, so you didn't answer my question. So are you going to correct the record on your Newsmax saying they are the only one by saying, okay, they're not the only one. I may not even endorse the second group, but there is another group with a plan. That was my question.
I'm going to read it.
So okay. So I'm not asking for endorsement, Clare. Now you know your statement was incorrect. Are you going to correct your statement on your Newsmax article?
I'll read the article as soon as I can.
Okay, let me
I'll take that as a no.
Let me see if we can conclude on something we do agree on. Do we all agree that since President Trump went out there and said, if anyone is shot, they kill students, we will shoot back, we will be there, we're going to help. Do we all agree that if he's going to go out there and make these kind of statements, he really kind of needed to follow through? Do we all agree that America probably, we don't want to be the policeman of the world, we don't want to be involved in nation building, but this regime is funding terrorism all over the world. You've done a great job, Clare, documenting their involvement with 9/11. Don't we all agree that the world would be better off if we don't have this group, Iran, this regime, funding terrorism around the world, sending their terrorist proxies around the world, including in the U.S., and killing 12 to 20,000 young people? I mean, at this point, don't we have an obligation, since the president said he was going to do it in order to maintain credibility on the world stage, but also because it's the right thing to do at this point, to do something to help the young people, whether it's providing arms or providing technology and more weaponry to Israel. But at some point, this regime has got to go. Do we all agree on that, Clare?
Yeah, I think we absolutely must. And I certainly do agree that once now that President Trump has made promises repeatedly that he will come to the aid, to the help of the Iranian people, I think he needs to follow through. Now, we do not know what's going on behind the scenes, and I guarantee there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm willing to wait a few days to get pieces in place to see where that goes. But absolutely, I think that President Trump, it's incumbent upon him to follow through with his promise. Yes.
Closing comment from you, Annie.
I am a little concerned. I'm leaning toward I prefer him not delivering on his promise for the fact that, as I said earlier on my show, on my Substack, from the look of it, years of MEK cashing in on the favors, I don't want U.S. helping, because their help is going to end up shoving MEK in Iran, which is going to create more bloodbath for my people. So at this point, I prefer him not delivering on his promise, because I think this time buying is for the preparation of the transitional government of MEK. That's my honest opinion.
All right, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. And you, Clare, are at Lopez Liberty, right?
Well, I don't have a website,
Okay.
but I am on social media. You can find me at Twitter, Facebook, Truth Social, also Telegram, and I publish at many different places, including, of course, Newsmax. I also publish at the Citizens Commission on National Security, the Near East Center for Strategic Engagement, and of course, the United West at theunitedwest.org.
Thank you, both of you, for coming on. We appreciate it. We love this kind of debate. Our audience loves it, and we appreciate both of you guys. And of course, all of us have worked together, as I said at the beginning, for many years on many issues. And it's okay that we sometimes agree and sometimes don't agree. But like Ronald Reagan said, someone I agree with 80% of the time is not a 20% enemy. So it's great that we can debate these things and still work together on those areas that are crucial. So thank you guys for helping our audience understand what is a big debate right now in the conservative world. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon, for having us. And thanks, Annie, for joining in.
Thank you both of you.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, you guys love the debate format. We get a lot of great reviews when we do this kind of thing. So thank you guys so much for doing that. All right, that's our broadcast for tonight. If you appreciate all we're doing, we again appreciate your support. WorldviewFoundation.com and WorldView2.com/sponsors. Roll the music. Call it a night, boys. A lot of you have ordered these. Tens of thousands of these have gone out. They're absolutely free. Business cards you can pass to your family and friends about the Worldview Tube network. Go to worldviewstore.com. You can order them. We'll send you a pack of 20 absolutely free of charge. Worldviewstore.com. Worldviewstore.com. And of course, we'll put all of this back up online tomorrow morning at worldviewtube.com for you to share and watch again. May God save America. Take care. Tonight on the Worldview Report, President Trump says there will be no U.S. attack on Iran after receiving word that the regime has, quote, stopped killing protesters.